Hello guys, welcome to That Japanese Man Yuta podcast. It's 20 past midnight in Tokyo. I was trying to record this earlier today, but for some reason I just ended up recording this 20 past midnight as usual. But next time, I will try to record it earlier. So today I'm gonna talk about Obama but it's not gonna be political. So the purpose of this episode is not about discussing politics, but Obama as a person, like just a one human being. And as you may know, Obama is quite popular in Japan, and not just in Japan. It seems like he's popular everywhere outside the States. And probably he might be more popular outside the States than in the States. And I think I kind of know why. Recently, I came across this YouTube video. It's actually the White House, the official channel. He was interviewed by three popular YouTubers. And I don't know you guys know these YouTubers, but Bethany Mota, GloZell Green, and Hank Green. I only knew Hank Green because he was the brother of John Green, and John Green is of course the author of a very popular young adult book, The Fault in Our Stars. But I came across John Green when I was looking for a video explaining Ukrainian crisis, and he had a video about it. He also has this channel. I think that channel is made by a number of people, but he is a presenter. He has this channel called Crash Course, and it's a good resource, for learning history, world history and the US history, because I didn't pay a lot of attention in my history classes, so I need to brush up my knowledge. So during the interview, I came across this question that Bethany Mota asked. So she is an American teenage YouTuber, and she makes videos about hairstyles. She's not particularly well informed in terms of politics, and she's just your average American teenage girl. So I'm gonna play the question.
So I was actually just in China. I travel a lot, and I connected to the internet, and I couldn't help but notice I couldn't access the apps and the websites that I do back home, and I just felt kind of isolated from the online global community.
Right.
So how can we make them a part of that?
Well, I don't blame her. I mean, considering her background, it's totally understandable that she asked the question. It's that she, why she phrased that question that way. But we know that grown-ups who are supposed to be mature are quite capable of making that kind of comments. It's very easy to be culturally insensitive. She doesn't necessarily have that intention, but when she said, how can we make them part of that, it's as if she's saying that, okay, we are more advanced, better society, so how can we make them a poor nation that doesn't have freedom, make them normal like us. I kind of exaggerate it, but if you are the one who is being criticized, it can sound very rude and offensive. So let me show you Obama's response to that.
Well, China and Russia and some other countries around the world that don't have a democratic government and don't have the same traditions of free speech and an open internet, they have recognized, I think, that the internet's so powerful that if people start being able to communicate, then they may start criticizing the government, and then they may be able to mobilize opposition and things that are unfair, or people who are being mistreated suddenly have a voice. So they're trying to keep a lid on things, and we consistently wherever we go, insist that issues like free speech and a free and open internet, we think that that is part of who we are as a people. We think that that has value not just in America, but everywhere. We obviously can't make laws in China, but what we can do is let them know and shine a spotlight on some of those practices and indicate to them that that any government that is afraid of its own people and people just peacefully trying to speak out and voice their own opinions is over the long term not going to be as effective and as long-lasting as a government that trusts its people to be able to communicate freely.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Obviously, Obama knows better, and his answer is way more culturally aware and considerate. First, he acknowledged that different countries have different traditions, and he also mentioned that the cultural context and the thoughts behind their practices, like, a fear of being criticized and etc. etc. So he shows that he tries to understand other people's point of view, and then he goes on his own view that he believes in democracy, and that he wants to point out that in the long run, allowing people to express themselves freely will be a win-win situation. And basically, both Beth and Obama believes in democracy, and so do I. And they both want China to be democratic. But the way Obama put it, the way he shows consideration, it makes a huge difference to people who are listening to them. And as you may know, that in Japan, showing consideration is very important. Even if you say the same thing, just saying that you care about other people's point of view, or you are aware of the differences, and this kind of attitude can get you pretty far in Japan. And I think when people outside the States hear Obama talk, they feel like, well, at least he's somebody, Obama, he sounds like he can actually understand us. Or at least he shows his intention to understand people around the world who don't necessarily, believe in the same value as American people. And I think this is part of the reason why Obama is tend to be quite popular outside the States. I would also like to indicate, borrowing Obama's word, that in Japan, human relationships tend to be very important when you do business with people. I will give you an example. So, okay, this is actually based on my own experience. So let's say you own a company and you want to make a website for your company, and there are two people. Okay, the first person is someone who you really know. So, you've already talked to her, and also like you've gone out, for drinking with her a couple of times. So you know her well, but you don't necessarily, like she's a web designer or like web programmer or something. You haven't necessarily worked with her before. And the other person, you don't really know her at all, but you've seen her portfolio and like she makes awesome websites. But you don't really have any connection to her. Now, who you choose? I think Japanese people tend to choose the first person, because they already know her, and because Japanese business tends to be relationship oriented. And how do you connect to people? You talk to them, and you show that you understand their feelings and their thoughts. And I think Obama is very good at connecting to people, like, because he's very empathetic. And as you may know, that empathy is very important when you connect to people. Now, this is just about Obama's personality. It's more like as a human being rather than a president or a politician or like a policymaker. So it has little to do with his ability to make good policies. But as far as personality is concerned, it makes sense to me why he's so popular around the world. Anyway, I know some of you guys are wondering, so here's what Bush said about China.
I've been meeting with Chinese leaders now for 7.5 years. My message has been the same. You should not fear religious people in your society. As a matter of fact, religious people will make your society a better place. That you ought to welcome people being able to express their minds. And to the extent that people aren't able to do that and people aren't able to worship freely is, I think is a mistake. And I explain it to them every single time. And the reason I'm going to the Olympics is twofold. One, to show my respect for the people of China.
So even though they are saying a similar thing, they both believe in democracy and they both want to promote democracy. But Bush doesn't show any consideration. He doesn't acknowledge that China is a different country with different culture, with different people, with different political backgrounds. He just says you should do this, you should that, as if that's the only right way. The difference might be a bit subtle, but important because it makes a huge difference as to how people outside the States receive the speech. And in a place like Japan, where considering other people's feelings is very important, it just doesn't cut it. So, what do you guys think? If you are listening to this on YouTube, you can just let me know in the comment section. And if you're not, you can go to yutaaoki.com/podcast, yutaaoki.com/podcast. Alright, see you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.